So, I thought I would do a little bit of an update vlog because I've hurt my shoulder. You can see in the video that I have here, I'm doing one-arm snatches and I am wearing the sling. I'm not wearing it right now because for the most part, it's kind of a minor injury and I just can't let my arm hang down for an extended period of time, otherwise it causes pain. I believe it was just one of the small supporting muscles inside my shoulder, tweaked. I discussed this with my brother who's a doctor. He thinks it's about 2 to 4 weeks out from using the arm doing heavy lifting, something like this, and I injured it about 2 weeks ago, so it's starting to feel a little bit better now, but what I will be uploading mostly, for the most part, if you haven't noticed already, is just going to be one arm lifts with the other hand, because that's kind of what I can manage at the gym right now. I might do a little bit of squatting, we'll see, but this is kind of where I'm at in just terms of a quick discussion. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the one-arm snatch in general. We can slow this video down a little bit, which I think might be interesting, to just see it in slow motion for some people, because it is... Let's see it at half speed, and let it just go, and just talk about the lift a little bit. This is one lift, so I get a lot of people on my YouTube. Majority of my engagement is just people telling me I shouldn't do one-arm lifts, and that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I always inquire as to what reference experience or literature they have on the matter to make them think that they know more than me, and I've never gotten a substantive response so far. And so, okay, if anyone thinks that they know more about these one-arm lifts than I do, when I have my anecdotal evidence at least, they can feel free to put any sort of evidence in the comments, but for the most part, I kind of disregard these comments. They do juice my algorithm, and so to some extent, I think of this injury as a little bit of an opportunity, because I think the engagement will be relatively high when I'm in a sling doing one-arm lifts that look dangerous with the other arm that is still working. But the one-arm snatch I actually think might be a potentially dangerous lift. And the reason for this is you are, you're getting down low and then you are ballistically catching it with a spine that is both twisted and bent, right? And so this might actually be a bit dangerous. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. So far, I've been doing these for like 4 or 5 years, something like this, and I've never hurt myself seriously until now, and even this is a 2 to 4 week injury. It's not too bad. And the way I hurt myself doing this as well was I was just kind of dumb with it, and I didn't respect the lift. Generally speaking, for one-arm snatch, I warm up anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and it is by far the longest warm-up I take out of any other lift, because I am, catching the weight with a twisted and bent spine. The thing I'm most concerned about is just some sort of weird freak spinal injury where my spine just goes to snap city, more so than my shoulder. Generally speaking, the shoulder's been fine, except for obviously I hurt my shoulder. But the way I hurt my shoulder is I was talking to someone at the gym. I started talking to them too long, maybe 10 minutes. I got cold. And then I went for a lift that was not even that heavy for me. It was just 5 pounds under what this is here in the video here. And I tweaked my shoulder. It didn't start hurting until 4 days later. So it was not like an acute event. I do think I just partially tore just some internal muscle. Or this is what my brother thinks as well when I discussed it with him. Based on symptoms and like how I have full range of motion. It just like... Especially if I put my arm behind my back, it will really cause a lot of pain, or quite a bit of pain, so obviously I'm not going to do that. But for the most part, I have full range of motion with the shoulder. And so, okay, if that's how I heard it, doing this exact lift, except cold, here, we can find a different one of this same lift, probably. But for the most part, I can show you the heaviest one I hit. I will be posting this a little bit later. I think this is the heaviest one I hit, in my last workout, which is 160 pounds. But moving forward, I guess for the next couple weeks, it's going to be just a lot of these videos and or other videos that I could make with kind of a gimpy arm. So it might be throwback stuff like this. The injury is kind of like not too big a deal overall, but it is a little bit of a speed bump, I guess, in terms of what I'm trying to get done. This is 160 pounds. Let's take it at full speed, I suppose. But I did want to put stuff out a little bit about the injury, because I do always get comments, about how I'm going to hurt my shoulder. And here I actually do hurt my shoulder, and so fair enough on the comments, I suppose. But, You also, just anytime you're doing any type of lift, you have an increased chance of hurting yourself, but I think it decreases your chance of injury, like, outside the thing. And you just have to program and lift intelligently. And it's, I think you run, like, maxing out every day, for example, is a better way to hurt yourself than doing a weird odd lift like this. You know, being intelligent with the way that you are doing lifts is much more important than, you know, which particular lifts you are doing. And everyone's always afraid to bend their spine. And the spine is, like, if the spine was not meant to be bent and loaded under, like, load with a bent spine, then your spine wouldn't move like that. It would move like your knee, just, like, straight up and down, right? But your spine is built to twist and bend, and you can do it under load. And I think the reason people hurt themselves when they do a lot of stuff with their spine, you know, under load, is because they have absolutely no strength basis for, like, being under load, because they only lift symmetrically. And this causes, like, a muscular deficiency in any sort of asymmetric movement. Like, you hear it all the time, the bodybuilders who are, like, just absolutely jacked, and then they hurt themselves helping their friend move because, like, it's suddenly they're, like, asymmetrically loaded, or they're loaded funny and they don't do enough stuff with dumbbells, I guess. And it's this thing where what's dangerous is going from 0 to 100. So, for example, anyone who asks me about doing one-arm lifts, I always tell them to start out really, really, really slow, unless you have some sort of basis for strength with the one-arm lifts, because you're going to be overbuilt on all the, like, for example, for this one-arm snatch here, if you do snatches normally, you are going to be so explosive off the ground, you are going to be able to lift a huge amount of weight off the ground, right? And pull it high enough to catch it. But you're not going to have a strength basis for catching something loaded with a twisted one-arm snatch, right? So you're going to have a huge strength basis for pulling something off the ground, but not for catching it, or not for having your spine bent. So it's extremely dangerous to just go, like, 0 to 100 on this lift, I think. But it's dangerous in the same way that I don't think it's dangerous because the lift itself is necessarily super dangerous, although I'm unsure with the twisted one-arm snatch, because literally no one else does it. So it's like n equals 1. It's just my situation. But it's dangerous in the same way that someone who gets really strong on leg press and then switches to squat, you know, is extremely likely to hurt themselves, because they are really well developed in terms of leg strength and really poorly developed in terms of, you know, all the supporting muscles. So they will be able to leg strength up a really heavy squat, but the other muscles are too far behind. And so I think your chance of hurting yourself if you just go, like, all out on this type of thing is extremely high. And so this is kind of the main way I look at how one-arm lifts is dangerous is not that they're dangerous in themselves. I don't think bending or twisting your spine is especially dangerous, although it does make me a little bit uncomfortable because, you know, it's n equals 1. Like, a lot of people don't do these, so, like, it's harder for me to tell, you know. But I think that my odds of, you know, getting a spinal injury in a car accident, for example, are way lower, because I'm used to taking, you know, I am used to having loaded asymmetric weight, and also explosively and ballistically. And I built all this up slowly. Like, I didn't one-arm snatch a barbell, like, my first time out. Like, I started with a dumbbell that was light, with the full twist and the, like, drop under. And I also started with, like, windmills and, like, this type of thing. I didn't, like, go into it because I thought it could potentially be very dangerous. But this is the way people one-arm snatch back in the day. This is the way Charles Rigulot set the world record. And so this is the way I wanted to do it. I've actually never done a front-facing one-arm snatch. It's very possible that front-facing is even better in terms of doing more weight, and that it was only better to do the twist in Rigulot's day because they didn't have the rotating, what is it, collars, or I forget what they're called, on the barbell, so they didn't spin. And so you have more front-back stability when you have your legs twisted that way. In a way, it makes a bit of an X, because when you rotate 90 degrees, you see the feet are, you know, you have lateral stability with your feet. In this case, it's like front-back is your new lateral. And so this is why I think you want to do the twist. And you also have left-right, in addition to front-back, the left-right balance of the barbell, big, like, heavy. Although, once you lose that left-right balance, you're just gone. But overall, I think that the lift is not as dangerous as everyone on YouTube seems to think it is. Although I'm probably going to enjoy trolling people with my titles of my videos. If anyone has a good idea for a title that's going to provoke people to be like, oh, you're going to tear your arm out, feel free to put it in the comments. because I'm always kind of looking for those, because a majority of my engagement is just people looking to troll me. Or not troll me, but they just think they know more than me about these one-arm lifts, and then you click on their profile and there's like no videos uploaded, there's like no indication that they know anything about lifting. I've never had anyone who is stronger than me or remotely close to being as strong as me comment anything negative on any of my videos. And so like, you know, if it's not someone you would go to, there's a pretty good heuristic for this. If it's not someone you would go to advice for on a particular area, you shouldn't like value their criticism either. And like, I would not go to the rando with no videos uploaded and no profile picture for advice on the one-arm snatch or the bench press or any of these, because I assume they know nothing. And sometimes I engage these people and just like ask, hey, have you ever tried this lift? And the answer is like no. And it's like, have you read anything about the lift? And if the answer is no, and it's like, well, what makes you think you know more about it then? And then they're like, oh, it looks dangerous. And it's like, look at it, your spine's bent. And it's like, okay, my friend. It's like, is that all you got there? But anyways, once I'm done with this, I think I will need to redraw a new program. I guess I could talk about that a little bit right now. In fact, we might even be able to switch the scene. And talk about... No, I don't have it all set up. But my previous training cycle, I had, the training cycle I was working on that I did make a vlog about, I was coming to the conclusion that that was just way too much volume. You know, it's too hard to do 30 sets in a workout, especially when like 10 of those, or sorry, like half of those sets are like working sets for main lifts, you know, like doing one-arm snatch, then squat, then bench press, and doing like 5 or 6 sets of each. It's just too much volume to get done in a single day. It really sucks trying to program for like being strong at 7 lifts, right? Because you want to have the frequency high, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. And I think I just have to do a lot more like volume with like 50% of 1 rep max or like this sort of thing, and just rely on rely on carryover effects in terms of muscular stimulus, and try and make sure I get a lot of the neural effects with much lighter loads. And this might be the way to do it. Also, all these 7 lifts, which you can see under training cycle results, this is for my last training cycle. These 7 lifts all engage the shoulder pretty heavily, and so programming around shoulder fatigue is a bit of a challenge. And this also probably contributes to the injury more so than I think the lift itself, is the amount of volume I'm lifting with my shoulder, because snatch uses the shoulder, jerks use the shoulder, to some extent cleans use the shoulder too, but in a different way, so you don't really need to count them. Bench uses the shoulder, one-arm snatch, bench press, all use the shoulder in a pretty heavily engaged way. Although, to be fair, the one-arm lifts do stimulate the shoulder in a bit of a different way than like the two-arm lifts. So it's not a direct comparison, because when you're on your stability on the barbell is much different, because on a barbell, in terms of how your hands engage with the lift, you only have to worry about flexion and extension. And with the one-arm lift, you have, flexion, extension, radial deviation, what is this one called? Ulnar deviation, supination and pronation. And so, like, your hand can do all of these things. It can articulate in all these ways, which it can't when you have 2 hands on it, right? Like, you're never gonna have the weight make you feel like you need to radially deviate, because the weight will just shift to the other arm instead. And so it won't, it's fundamentally different in terms of how it engages on your hand. And so because of this, it creates different positions for the shoulder as well, because you will be not loaded under it in the exact same way. So if I get my shoulder, if my arm is straight up like this, if I were to come over here, now it's like a snatch position, right? As opposed to this bent over position where the arm is straight up. And so I probably shouldn't do that with the shoulder. That didn't quite feel good. But it's like, it's not a directly a jerk is more similar to a bench in terms of the stimulus on your shoulder than the jerk is to, let's say, the one-arm snatch, I think. And so that little bit of difference does help for combating the fatigue, but overall it's, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, that's just kind of, I guess, my thoughts on, is the one-arm snatch dangerous? I hurt myself doing it, type of thing. The answer is I don't really think it's dangerous. I did hurt myself doing it. I think that I attribute it more to the volume and the fact that I let myself get cold. And then I took I think you should never take a dynamic lift that requires both a lot of technique and is ballistic. You just shouldn't do that with a cold body, and that's what I did, and that's why I hurt myself, I think. And then even then, the injury's pretty mild. I'll be back in a couple weeks. But until then, I guess enjoy the one-arm snatch videos, and the title's meant to get the people to come out and angrily comment on my videos telling me I'm going to hurt myself again. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share. This is kind of more of an update than anything. I really don't think this video will get much engagement, but it is what it is. And if you've been sitting a long time just going through a ton of YouTube videos, feel free to take a walk, man. Or woman. This page actually has a surprising amount of women on it. I was shocked. It's not like 99% men. But, anyways, have a good one either way.